Alright, let's talk about your life. Specifically, let's talk about your morning. You probably woke up, stumbled to the bathroom, and squeezed some Dove soap or maybe some Axe body wash into your hand. Then, you might have brushed your teeth with Signal or Close-Up toothpaste. For breakfast, perhaps you spread some Marmite on toast or had a cup of Lipton tea. Later, you might do a load of laundry with Persil, clean your counters with Cif, and maybe, just maybe, treat yourself to a pint of Ben& Jerry's ice cream tonight. That sounds like a normal day, filled with choices from dozens of different brands. Except, it's not. It's not a choice at all. Because every single one of those products, every single one, is owned by the same company. A company called Unilever. Yes, Unilever. It sounds less like a corporate behemoth and more like a piece of industrial kitchen equipment. But this company is one of the largest, most powerful, and most invisible empires on the planet. It's a silent puppet master pulling the strings of your daily habits, your wallet, and even your perception of the world. So, how did this corporate ghost get so massive? Well, it all started, as many British things do, with soap and colonialism. The story begins back in the 1880s with a company called Lever Brothers, founded by William Hesketh Lever. His big idea was Sunlight Soap, a product he marketed not just as a cleaning agent, but as a tool for health and hygiene for the working classes. He was a marketing genius, a P.T. Barnum of Suds, who built a whole model village for his workers called Port Sunlight. It sounds lovely. Until you realize it was part of a system that often relied on raw materials, like palm oil, sourced from British colonies under brutal labor conditions. But hey, the cottages were quaint. On the other side of the English Channel in the Netherlands, a family of butter merchants called the Jurgens decided to get into a newfangled product, margarine. For decades, Lever Brothers dominated soap while the Dutch companies cornered the market on butter's less glamorous cousin. They were like the Blur and Oasis of late 19th century consumer goods. The inevitable corporate marriage happened in 1929. Faced with overlapping interests in raw materials and fierce competition, Lever Brothers and the Dutch Margarine Unie decided to merge, forming the titan we now know as Unilever. It was a match made in capitalist heaven. Together, they could conquer the world, one bar of soap and one tub of margarine at a time. Walk into any supermarket. You're standing in the personal care aisle, faced with a wall of choices. Do you want Dove, which promises real beauty? Or maybe Axe, the official scent of teenage desperation? Perhaps you're feeling more sophisticated and reach for a bar of Lifebuoy, the world's #1 hygiene soap. You feel empowered, like a sovereign consumer making a free and informed decision. But here's the punchline. It's a complete illusion. Dove, Axe, and Lifebuoy are all Unilever. You're not choosing between competitors. You're just choosing which of Unilever's marketing departments you find most persuasive today. It's like a magician asking you to pick a card, any card, when he's holding a deck of 52 aces of hearts. In the ice cream aisle, you can pick between a pint of Ben& Jerry's, a Magnum bar, a Breyers tub, or a Klondike bar. 4 different brands, 4 different vibes, 4 different price points. But guess what? It all ends up in the same corporate pocket. Unilever owns them all. They've figured out that they can capture a wider range of consumers by creating brands that appeal to different demographics, values, and income levels. They have a brand for the socially conscious hippie, the indulgent luxury seeker, and the budget-conscious family. It's a brilliant, if slightly sinister strategy. Unilever loves to talk about its purpose. They want to make sustainable living commonplace. It's a lovely sentiment. It's also a sentiment that has, at times, clashed violently with reality, especially when it comes to tea. For years, Unilever was the proud owner of a massive tea plantation in Kericho, Kenya. They used images of smiling tea pickers to sell brands like Lipton and PG Tips. The reality, as exposed by investigations, was far less idyllic. In 2020, a report detailed horrific conditions, including rampant sexual harassment and abuse of female workers by their supervisors. Over 85 women came forward with claims of rape and assault, alleging that managers demanded sex in exchange for lighter workloads or to avoid being fired. This wasn't just a case of a few bad apples. It was described as a systemic problem. Unilever's response was, to put it mildly, inadequate. They expressed deep shock and sadness and pointed to the policies they had in place, which had clearly failed. Eventually, Unilever sold its tea division. including the Kenyan plantation, in 2021. To a cynic, this might look less like a moral reckoning and more like a company getting rid of a PR headache. If you listen to Unilever's marketing, you'd think their primary business was saving the planet, with a side hustle in selling soap. They have a compass strategy, a sustainable living plan, and enough buzzwords to power a small city. The problem is that while the company talks a big game about sustainability, its actions often tell a very different and much more plasticky story. This, ladies and gentlemen, is a masterclass in greenwashing. Let's talk about plastic. Unilever is one of the world's biggest plastic polluters. For several years in a row, the Break Free from Plastic movement has named them as one of the top corporate contributors to plastic waste globally. A lot of this comes in the form of sachets, those tiny single-serving packets of shampoo, soap, or sauce that are popular in developing countries. They are cheap and convenient, but honestly, they are also an environmental nightmare. They are almost impossible to collect and recycle, meaning they end up clogging waterways, polluting oceans, and littering landscapes. So while Unilever is busy funding beach cleanups and running ads about their recycled plastic bottles, they are simultaneously flooding the globe with a product format they know is fundamentally unsustainable. It's like an arsonist joining the volunteer fire department. Sure, it's great that you're helping put out the fires, but maybe, just maybe, you could stop starting them in the first place? And then, there's Ben & Jerry's. Ben & Jerry's. The ice cream of choice for college students and people who think buying a pint of Cherry Garcia is a political act. Unilever bought the famously progressive Vermont-based company in 2000, promising to preserve its independent board and social mission. In July 2021, the independent board of Ben & Jerry's announced it would stop selling its ice cream in the occupied Palestinian territories, stating that doing so was inconsistent with our values. This decision instantly ignited a political firestorm. Pro-Israel groups accused the company of anti-Semitism and called for boycotts. The Israeli government launched a diplomatic pressure campaign. Several U.S. states with anti-BDS laws on the books began divesting their pension funds from Unilever, costing the parent company hundreds of millions of dollars. Suddenly, Unilever's hands-off approach to its quirky, hippie ice cream brand was becoming a massive financial and political liability. Ultimately, Unilever found a corporate solution to a political problem. They sold the Israeli Ben & Jerry's business to a local licensee who could then continue selling the ice cream in the disputed territories. Ben & Jerry's sued its own parent company to block the sale, but lost. It was a brutal end to the saga. For a company that is so deeply embedded in our lives, Unilever has achieved a remarkable level of public invisibility. This isn't an accident. It's the core of their business model. You don't buy Unilever brand mayonnaise? You buy Hellmann's. You don't wash with Unilever body wash. You use Dove. By keeping the corporate brand in the background, they insulate themselves from public scrutiny. It's like a king sending his knights into battle. If one falls, the kingdom remains secure. This strategy has a huge impact on media coverage. Journalists and the public are far more likely to talk about a scandal involving Ben & Jerry's or Lipton than they are to talk about a systemic issue at Unilever. This fractures the narrative, treating each controversy as an isolated incident rather than a pattern of behavior from a single immensely powerful entity. It prevents us from connecting the dots between labor abuses in Kenya, plastic pollution in the Philippines, and political disputes over ice cream. This corporate anonymity gives them a Teflon-like quality. Scandals that might seriously damage a company with a single public-facing brand tend to slide right off Unilever. We might decide to boycott a single brand over a specific issue, but you probably didn't stop buying Dove soap, nor soup cubes, or Hellmann's mayonnaise. Because why would you? You don't see them as part of the same family. In recent years, Unilever has gone all in on a concept they call purpose-driven branding. The idea is that modern consumers don't just want to buy products, they want to buy from brands that stand for something. So Dove isn't just a bar of soap, it's a champion for real beauty and female self-esteem. Lifebuoy isn't just a cleanser, it's on a mission to promote hand washing and save lives in developing nations. This is, on the surface, a wonderful idea. The problem arises when this purpose feels less like a genuine commitment and more like a cynical marketing tactic. So, on one hand, Unilever is telling women to love their bodies. On the other, it's telling teenage boys that a certain scent will make them irresistible to women. It's a company that is trying to simultaneously be the feminist and the chauvinist, all in the name of market share. This is the art of purpose washing, wrapping a product in the language of social justice and environmentalism to sell more of it. It transforms morality into a brand attribute, just like minty flavor or extra strong hold. A company's true purpose is, and will always be, to maximize profit for its shareholders. Any social or environmental mission will always be secondary to that primary goal. So, why does any of this matter? Who cares if one giant company sells you your soap, your tea, and your ice cream? It matters because this concentration of power, hidden behind a curtain of hundreds of friendly, familiar brands, has a profound impact on our world. When one company controls so much of the market, it stifles innovation, limits genuine choice, and makes it incredibly difficult for smaller, independent businesses to compete. Your local organic soap maker doesn't stand a chance against the marketing budget of Dove. It also matters because Unilever's invisibility allows it to evade accountability. By keeping its corporate name out of the spotlight, it can weather storms of controversy that would cripple other companies. We are fighting a multi-headed hydra, and every time we get angry at one head, we forget that the other 399 are still doing business as usual. We are participants in a system we don't even see, supporting an empire we don't even know exists. This is the ultimate triumph of modern capitalism. They have hidden their power in the most obvious place possible, right in your shopping cart. The next time you're in a supermarket, just take a moment. Look for the tiny print on the back of the label. More often than not, you will find that name, Unilever, and you'll realize that you're not just a customer. You are a subject in a vast, silent, and incredibly profitable kingdom. And the first step to changing your relationship with that kingdom is simply knowing that it's there. Because you can't challenge a power you don't know exists.